When all those drunk frat brothers you were really close to in college just kind of randomly show up to your house wanting to look to maybe punch everyone in the neighborhood, you know you're watching Feature Please, a vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
Hey, new special effects budget. Who dis? And co-host, Peter.
Peter, we have arrived at what is considered, to borrow a phrase from the youth, the peak of Star Trek. And boy, season 4 certainly isn't going to sit around on its hands to make sure you know that with what we've opened up with. My goodness.
We got through season 3, which was an excellent experience. It's not like we had to thug it out like this is season poo of Enterprise, season 2, or season sucks of Voyager, season 6 to get to the next, something plausible. We went from a great episode, a great season. We did our rip, which if you guys didn't catch that one, please go back, listen to the season 3 rip so you can hear Joe and I discover the hardships. I'm listening to it like
we see each other like 3 times a year, and we record in person like once every 2 years. I'm sorry I don't have a professional setup in my home.
You sounded like a dragoon from a Protoss dragoon from StarCraft. Like you're communicating from the afterlife or in the Fade, or what was it? The Kala. Yeah, the Protoss were like they had the Fade, right?
Yeah, they were all psychically connected or whatever, and
because there's like this weird.
The dragoons were basically Space Marine dreadnoughts, yes.
And then I just sound like I was yelling down in a cave. What a way to start an episode, a season of Star Trek. The way it was presented to me by my streaming service, I'm air quoting. I started watching this thing Thursday night. I finished off the season of Fallout 2, and it's really had me in this Fallout mood. And I made the mistake of going back into Fallout Shelter. Oof. So I sat down to watch this episode at midnight, and I fucked around in Fallout Shelter for a whole hour. So I started watching this thing at 1 a.m.
Ooh.
And it's about 1:55, and I'm like, this does not seem like it's going to be over. And I hit pause, and I see I'm not even at like the halfway point. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
You're watching a movie, Peter. This is like my third favorite Star Trek movie. Yes.
Third. Wow. Okay. Well, so we're going to go.
Yeah. I'd put Wrath and Undiscovered Country above it, but it would be third. I'd put it above First Contact.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Which is about to come up as I give you lore. Before we get into the episode, we have like we've got to peel the facade back a bit and talk about the actual circumstances in which this was being made, 30 years ago in 96.
We're at the 3-minute 30-second mark right now.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you're coming in fresh, or if you've been listening for a while, here's the rules real quick. Joe's watched all the Star Trek stuff, Berman era. I watched TNG back in the day. I love TNG. I got a heavy background on TNG. We watched Voyager together on the podcast. We watched Enterprise together on the podcast. This is my first watch through of Deep Space Nine. What we're watching right here, expect minimum 3 podcasts on Way of the Warrior.
Yeah.
Probably 4.
Not kidding. We like to luxuriate in stuff that has such depth. And, we appreciate your tolerance of it. And also, this is our show. We get to do what we want. So, thanks for joining us. And first things first, though, is we like to discuss like production details. We like to discuss kind of like the environment this was made in. So this is really like peak of Star Trek's pop culture relevance right now, 1995 to 1996. TNG has completed its run. It's a big deal. Generations was a success at the box office. They are gearing up to do First Contact, which has something to do directly with this episode, and which I will reveal in a moment. And Voyager, while a clearly inferior product, and that's just a simple fact of the matter because you and I are quite experts on it, is going on the UPN, and it is performing well. It's in its second season, right? We it is capturing the audience it is intended to capture, at least at first. And meanwhile, you have Deep Space Nine, which has been quite a success on its syndication. It is well subscribed to. People definitely want to continue buying this thing. The ad purchase, the ad buys on the local stations are good, and there has been an increase in the amount of money that they are going to be permitted to spend. And they ultimately decide, okay, well, we want to try and maximize on this. Rick Berman came up with the idea that maybe Worf should be on this show. That like that could help translate more of the TNG audience directly into Deep Space Nine, since it's more of a direct continuation of the story in a way Voyager is separated from it. And
that's a Rick Berman call. Wow.
Yes, Rick Berman suggested it, and Ron Moore was in favor of it. And this was in an attempt to try and create. They didn't want, they knew they had the whole Dominion thing going, but it's clear that they're going a more like gradual route with them being the antagonists. So we've got to come up with things to do in the interim that reflect their fucking around with the Alpha Quadrant.
This is, and to a point you made earlier about the war is going to be more than just the battles.
Correct.
And certainly there's heavy violence in this one, but war foreplay. How much mileage can we get out of the threat, the looming threat of the Dominion, using just Alpha Quadrant toys before we bring the new toys into the sandbox?
And it was so well established in the prior season that this really was like the founder's plan, right?
Yeah.
They already fucked heavily with the Cardassians and the Romulans, which is about to have a direct consequence on this story. And they made it clear, like, oh, we're going to be fucking with the Federation and the Klingons too. We saw them fucking with the Federation in the finale of season 3.
I would love to just be able to go back and watch key scenes from the writer's room or whatever. Like, how much thought, energy really went into planning this all out? Like, was this intensive weeks at people's houses and in the writer's room and whiteboards just full of notes establishing timelines, and like the level of effort that it would take to, get man on the moon and really do amazing things? Or is this just people sitting around for an hour a day talking about, or, during dinners, like, hey, wouldn't this be cool? Because this feels very much like a labor of love. People who genuinely enjoy the material that they are working on and are putting a passion into it. Whereas Voyager felt very much like people just punching a clock. And so did Enterprise in the beginning.
And I feel like it's a bit of both from what I've read, and it'll be interesting once we're finished to watch the What You Leave Behind documentary, which is evidently very good on details like this. But there was a partial, like, we know the direction we're going in. They didn't necessarily know exactly how they were going to make all of this work, right? But bringing in the Klingons, making them an antagonist again, which they have not been in many years, and tying that into the plot, and then eventually tying that into the larger plot and having things develop from there. It's something they knew what they were doing, but they were doing it in real time at the same time. And if there's actually a touch of caution, of a cautionary tale in this, it's that I think Ron Moore learned the wrong lesson from all of this, because he indulged in that as a bad habit in Battlestar Galactica to the point where he ruined his own show.
And then some.
Yeah. So it's like they instinctually found their way through this in a way that it feels utterly pre-planned, but it was not fully. And then, like, I guess Ron Moore trusted himself a bit too much from being part of this experience and thought, I can just fucking kind of, figure this out as I go along on my next show too, because I've already done that once. And he didn't have the same kind of people around him. He was the one making all the calls, and that wasn't the case here. Ira Stephen Bear was making the calls. And that led to him going down. Like, you saw the weakness in that approach there.
Mm-hmm.
But this was not like, we didn't set this like 7-season roadmap and we have it all meticulously planned out. This is some people working at their peak of their creative efficiency, kind of playing the ball where it lies and finding the exact next place to hit it. And then this strategy develops from there.
Where was Voyager at for this episode?
Twisted. Oh,
One of the all-time worst episodes.
yes.
Non
Oh.
Sequitur, which was is that Harry's caveman
Partuition.
girlfriend?
Yeah, this came between Twisted and
Oh my god.
Partuition.
Dude,
Oh,
it's the trio of terror.
it is.
Because it's a logum non sequitur twisted. Right? That's what we call the Voyager trio of terror.
That is
37. Dude, just Voyager for comparison. The 37s. Initiations. That was the Nog.
yeah, it was not shit up in that one, yeah.
Projections was cool. That's the first time we got Barkley in there. And then Elogium, non sequitur, twisted. Then Partuition was Raptor Baby. That was an okay one.
Yeah,
That's where
like
Tom gets super.
Elogium, Non Sequitur, and Twisted were the trilogy of terror. Partuition kind of saved itself a little bit because it was a Jonathan Frakes episode and the way he shot it, and like the creature effects were really
Yeah.
interesting. But it was also like not a great episode either.
DS9 is spinning gold at a level that gives TNG a run for its money, if not surpasses it. Meanwhile, the Voyager people, the entire writer's room has collectively gotten into a king-size bed, and they're having a race to see who can make the biggest pile of poop in the bed.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what else to say, right? Like it's kind of wild, but we touched on this when we did Caretaker, right? Like now that we have that picture of what that looked like and who was involved with it and who left the DS9 orbit to go, it's like it flushed. It was like an enema, right? It just all of the toxins kind of got out of the system, and all of the TNG guys who didn't go over to do Voyager settled in here. And one of those guys was James Conway, the director of this
real
episode.
quick, before we get, because I do want to talk about him heavily. They're doing such radical shit in this episode specifically. Like, there is such monumental change. I was not ready for the level of dynamic geopolitical shifts, radical shifts that this one episode does to basically the entire cosmology of
Correct.
Of Berman era TNG space.
The total socio-political environment of the Alpha Quadrant changes in this episode, and it is why I told you that we needed to watch those 4 episodes of TNG, especially Redemption Part 1 and 2. Like you almost have to remind yourself of all of this stuff because it's like I said, it matters right away.
Bram Braga and Berman, they're heavily invested in Voyager. I think at this point they know that they're going to want to go back to like old Federation, like pre-Federation, and do the Enterprise story.
I don't know if they had conceived of that yet. It's too
Something
early.
They're doing such crazy big shit over in Deep Space Nine. It feels to me like they're like, you guys can just do whatever you want. You're getting the ratings in an acceptable thing, and I think we'll bring Worf in, and maybe we can capture more of that space. But our main focus is Voyager, which is completely divorced from everything that's happening here.
We got spent twice as much money, by the way. It has a twice as large a budget as Deep Space Nine.
So you are not going to be touching anything we're doing, and you can go wild over there. Our homeostasis fetish is going to be in full effect on Voyager. And I think ultimately, like, it doesn't matter what you guys do because we're not coming back to this time frame. That your story, we are not doing anything after your story. So you feel free to do it. You're doing cool stuff. Great. We don't care what you're doing ultimately because we are telling a story far away from you. And then we're going to tell another story that predates you.
I don't know if they had conceived of that yet because they're still they shoot First Contact and weave it into this timeline. They shoot Insurrection, which is also like deeply connected to this timeline. That takes place during season 7.
Yeah.
Like I think that they had not yet actually figured out. They're so like heavy into Voyager, and they're like, we've got 7 years of this to do, 6 years of this left to do. I don't think like they really start to think about what's next until they're getting close to the end of Voyager.
Maybe they're just like, listen,
that's when they've started to hit the skids where things have started to fall apart.
Maybe they're just like, listen, as long as the Federation doesn't fall and we can still tell the stories in the TNG movies we need, you can do whatever you want with the accessories off in the peripheral. But, the nuts and bolts of Star Trek need to be there. The crazy admirals still need to be there.
Yes.
So James Conway.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce the actual episode properly, as we normally do?
Way of the Warrior, Season 4, Episode 1, first aired October 2nd, 1995. Written by Ira Stephen Bear, Robert Hewitt Wolf. Amazing that, oh Jesus, what's his face isn't right here written
Ron
on the
Moore?
side. Ron Moore. I mean, all the Klingon stuff here. His hands all over this thing, but like for him not to
Yeah.
get credit on it. Directed by James Conway. In-universe date, 2372.
Yeah, we even got a star date, 49.
Which is rare for Deep Space Nine.
011.4. Yeah. So this is episodes 1 and 2. It is a feature-length episode. It is meant to be viewed as a single product, not as like a two-parter. And James Conway is a name that I think his time has come for us to talk about. We got introduced, unfortunately, to him at the low point of his Star Trek career, because he is responsible for the 37's Persistence of Vision, which is not a great episode. Death Wish, which is okay, and Innocence. So his Voyager episodes are pretty bad, but he is quite a his Deep Space Nine hit rate is crazy. He did Duet. He did Necessary Evil, which was a noir episode, which was a great directorial episode in particular because of how it was all shot and framed. Did Way of the Warrior, and then he's got 3 more bangers that he does in this season alone, and then ultimately one in season 5. And he actually also does some Enterprise episodes, Broken Bow. He did Judgment, with Saul Gochman. Damage, which was a great season 3 episode of Enterprise, and then in Amir Darkly, which of course we were huge fans of. So he is in the running at this time to direct First Contact, and he's between him and Frakes, and he is given this essentially as a tryout of like, you want to shoot a movie? Shoot this movie.
His first directorial entry I love was Next Generation Justice, which was the fucking
Wesley Must Die episode or whatever.
The non-monogamy planet of Aryans running around with nipples hanging out, and Wesley throws a Nerf ball in the wrong part of their lawn, and they're like, "Sorry, bro, you got to die."
So he was potentially going to direct First Contact, and this is no lie. This is a movie. It is shot like a movie. It is paced like a movie. It is a massive third act action sequence like a movie. It is the care and nuance and how good each individual scene is feels like it was put together by someone who was really fucking trying to prove he could do a feature length film. We obviously know he didn't end up getting the gig and went to Frakes, evidently.
Politics.
It had to do in the end with Patrick Stewart saying he'd prefer to work with Frakes. And that makes a lot of sense. And eventually, actually, James Conway moves on, gets a different gig away from Star Trek. He joins forces with Aaron Spelling. This is a man who produced all of Charmed. He directed episodes of your and I's least favorite show, Kindred the Embraced. Yeah. So he actually had a very big career outside of Trek. Ultimately, so it's not like, he also did Star Trek Borg, which we're going to review for Patreon. So this guy is he's a real worker in the industry in a way that he moved in kind of like a niche that was really perfect for him. And in this movie, I think I could see a better version of First Contact having been made by him.
High praise, man.
I feel that way. Like I mean it when I say like this is my 3rd favorite Star Trek film.
And I want to talk about that. Rewind back to what you said, how this feels very much like a movie someone put their whole ass into. Not only in terms of visual presentation on the screen, but because this is, for all intents and purposes, a movie. And contrast that with Broken Bow, which was a 2-part long cinematic entry into the Enterprise story. And such a bigger piece of shit than this, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you've got a lot of runway. You got a lot of stuff to work with here. You're not introducing as much new stuff. In fact, these two episodes serve as a connective tissue between Deep Space Nine and the TNG story, right? You are bringing
Yeah.
together two separate bodies of water and mixing them at a very pleasing ratio. What stood out to me in terms of this as being a great movie, and calling it a made-for-TV movie feels like a massive disservice, because I do think that this thing could have aired in the theaters and been a fucking banger. And at the same time have stood out as a sore thumb, because anybody who would have walked into this thing cold would not have known what the fuck is going on. Deep
Yeah.
Space Nine is very much a story where you need to know what happened last episode, what happened 5 episodes ago, and what happened 16 episodes ago, and what
You have
happened.
to, yeah, you have to remember the fucking inane details of shit that happened in season 2 to fully grasp a scene when they're discussing, like, oh, how'd the Cardassian government get overthrown? Well, good thing we're gonna have everyone go through every single plot point that we've experienced
Yeah,
to
Quark's
demonstrate there's a
girlfriend.
lot of theories.
Quark's girlfriend, Kira's fake dad, these guys, those guys, 15 episodes, an entire franchise ago. All the stuff we did for Worf's homework, which I hope you guys, what do we call that? Oh,
After,
enter the Kling.
I haven't named it yet, so I
I
don't know.
told, write it down right now. Enter the Klingons.
Enter the Klingons.
Way
Okay, I'm
of the
putting that into
Klingon.
chat. I'm putting that into the chat. Enter the Klingon.
Production notes. Way of the Klingon. This would have flopped as a in theater production because Deep Space Nine is so massively self-referential. And that's the cool part in this, is that you had while maybe not a Hollywood budget, you had a Hollywood effort of visual presentation and cinematic thrill. But you take like Firefly, right?
Yeah.
Which very complicated story with a lot of nuances. And then they got their movie, which was called what? Serenity, which was basically the story, but they had to strip that thing down, right?
They did.
A lot of stuff was represented and lore was changed. It was the story and it was the people, but the focus had been changed, and that is not what happened here. This was something where the people writing the script were not afraid to get into all the nitty-gritty details that had been established by the IP and give the nerds what they want to a degree that, and this is my real question here, is you watched this thing real time when it came out, right? Like, where were you at with Deep Space Nine in 95? Like, were you watching these things weekly?
I know I was not, and that's but I did watch this one. So as I've mentioned before on the show, like, I kind of didn't really watch Deep Space Nine as a dedicated effort until I was in college, because it was actually difficult to locate on television here. Whereas like Fox had TNG and it always had it on at the same time, so it was very easy to get. This was actually on a local channel, Star 64.
This is
Who bought it.
Cincinnati.
This is Cincinnati. So it was hard for me to find sometimes, but they promoted the fuck out of this one. There was all these advertisements of like, the Federation and the Klingons are about to fucking throw hands, and also Worf is on the show now. Let's go fucking go. You know, like it. So I did watch this one. And I was like, damn, this is really cool. And I unfortunately just, again, like, couldn't figure out how to watch it regularly and fell off of it until frankly, you know, high-speed internet came along to everybody, and I was in college in 2001, and a friend of mine was like, this is how you torrent things. And I ended up watching it.
Well, we're preaching to the choir, of course. I don't think there's anybody listening to my voice right now that is under the age of 32,
Yeah,
35.
few. I've seen our analytics.
We're all
middle-aged weirdos here.
We were all around before broadband. This used to be a real struggle, and this is why them landing Voyager was such a big deal, because it was
a regular network time slot. Yeah.
TNG was popular in syndication, and they would make it an anchor placement on these broadcast TV shows. What a fucking mess Deep Space Nine had to be. I mean, there you are, a Star Trek fan. You're not in college, right? College has a lot of distractions. I lost touch with all of my nerddom my freshman year of college. And I didn't watch Deep Space Nine because I was being a prick and you know, was a
It was not
Me
cool to be a nerd in the 90s. Let's just be real about
No,
that.
no, no, no. I had beef with them blowing up the Enterprise in Generations, and I wasn't into Deep Space Nine, and I said, fuck you, I'm not watching this stuff. It was me being a little asshole. But you being a Star Trek fan, trying to nail down where the hell this thing was, like what your whole story right there encapsulates like a big difficulty with this format of television. It's incredibly self-referential. It's hard to find. It's great, but to really enjoy it, you need to have access to all of it. And that access wasn't there unless you had DVDs, right? And we've talked
VHS at this stage. I mean, that's
very heavily
yeah.
in our Voyager years about the importance of revenue generation for these studios with VHS sales and then DVD sales, and what that posed in terms of value to the company, in terms of profit and growing your fan base, because you can just give people stuff to watch. Now they're
And
instantly
you
on
really
board.
can't underemphasize that the revolution into DVD is what made television take off, especially in going back and in like appreciating whole series. It was impossible to do that until DVDs were invented because VHS was so limited in its capacity. If you got a tape of something, it had like
Two tops,
episodes on it.
and they look like shit. And there was gonna be commercials all over the place.
And even if you had bought like the commercially released like packages, again, you're talking about 2 to maybe 3 episodes of tape. That's an expensive way to approach it.
Bookshelves of physical media just for one season. Bookshelves.
And so what happens is DVDs make it possible for you to have to buy in a single package at an approachable price an entire season of 26 episodes of a television program at the time at a very high quality of presentation. In fact, higher quality than it was typically broadcast to begin with.
And you can loan that to your friends. This is awesome, man.
Yes.
Check out Battlestar Galactica. Here, it's one hand. I just handed you a chonky little box. There's everything you need. They watch it. Oh my God, that's great. Either I'm going to buy my own or let me loan this over to Mike. And the way things are able to take off there. So,
and Netflix, obviously, like this is how they actually got their start. Is they were just a service you got DVDs from. They mailed them to you, and then you mailed them back and got new ones. And in this format, those discs contain way more episodes. They had director's commentary on them, so you get all that insight. And this is where the fandom of television is really actually born.
So that is what allows something like Deep Space Nine to be viewed as the creators intended.
Yes.
And as we're watching it right now, where we have easy access to it, and we can go and watch this thing chronologically and have the full story presented to us and not have this hardship of when's the next time I'm going to catch this thing. The fact they put the advertising juice into getting people in with like heavy TV promos, like watch this thing, cool shit's about to happen, familiar faces are coming back. Come on, you as someone who is having difficulty locking this thing down, come in effectively out of the cold to watch this. Were you prepared for what you saw?
No. That was actually part of the reason why I think I didn't quite latch onto it. Is I'm like, I don't fucking know who any of these people are. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, I mean, I know Worf, I know the Klingons, I know Gowron. Like, the rest of these guys are kind of strangers to me because I haven't really been consistently watching it. And again, like when I finally was able to capture this in the way that was originally intended and watched it from the beginning, everything kind of started to fall into place. And even on this rewatch, I'm appreciating so much more. The cinematic nature of this episode struck me so much more this time around than it ever has before. You know, I knew remembered all the key scenes, right? The big fight in Ops. Everyone's been waiting to hear your take on that. Don't get me wrong, but there's so much more to unpack. And it's the scene where they're discussing all of the reasons the Cardassian government could have fallen. Where I'm like, this show absolutely has a confidence in itself bordering on insane. Like, yeah,
insane.
I mean,
for 95 again. When good
when
luck finding this fucking show on TV, let alone watching everything week after week. Your VCR game better be magical. Like, I think there was a thing called VCR Plus that was like one of the better recording methods out there. Actually, you know, listen, TiVo, I think was TiVo.
No, TiVo didn't come around until I think 99.
I was working at CompUSA, so that was like 2004.
Okay. Maybe, yeah, I guess like maybe it started like 2000, 2001. It gave it 99. But that's probably too early. Yeah, like
TiVo was
TiVos
another
are just
big deal.
essentially a hard drive you
Created the
record your
streaming.
television to, and I don't think they just quite
No,
got storage down enough to do that until
no.
then.
Yeah, TiVo was a decade away. Um, Also, one last name I want to talk about. I see that Renee Echeverria is now featured as a producer. He got a couple scripts in last season. I don't think anything really popped super hard. But interesting to see how these people come up through the company.
Yeah.
And, we sit here and we judge people based on the quality of the product their name is associated with. His scripts were Improbable Causes, which was fucking great. That was a teleplay. Equilibrium, Past Tense Part 2, Explorers, yuck. Facets. So you and I can sit here and say these aren't the best episodes. But what's this guy like to work with, right? And then that's the thing. Like when you are doing a 40-hour-a-week job or whatever, there is what's the quality of work this person has? What's this guy like to work with? What's his office politics? Is he a miserable asshole? Or is this someone you can count on to, like, even if the quality is not 100% all the time, does this guy always get the work done on time and not, jerk people around? So I cannot wait to see this, what we left behind, what names get mentioned and how these people are poised. I understand why these Wikipedias are encyclopedia in length and the excitement people have to talk about behind the scenes stuff. So interesting to hear that you watch this in the moment and it did not hook you into being obsessed about this. But like you said, you need to have the knowledge of what is going on in the world of Star Trek in the Alpha Quadrant at this point to watch. Were you watching? You weren't watching Voyager,
I
right?
was, because it was easier to watch. I don't even remember. I got my dad to watch it with me for a while, and then he's like, "I don't really kind of like the show very much," and I was stuck alone with it. And
It's
I
rough.
did. I consistently stuck with it out of kind of a brand loyalty. I didn't watch all of it. I kind of like came in and out, but because it was on consistently on a channel I could reach, it was actually easier to watch. And I didn't end up really watching it all until college, when I was able to kind of binge everything. And Voyager was still going on at the time. I don't think it actually wrapped until like 03, 04. But let's finally get into this thing, man. We've already been talking a half hour. The teaser is really setting the tone for everything else. We've got intense music. We have everyone with phaser rifles. They are on the hunt, trying to find a changeling. And of course, we first see Cisco, and he is in his final form, as they say. He has shaved his head. He is bald. He is goateed, and he is looking trim. He's
What was it
ready.
called? Spencer for Hire?
Hawk. He was
Hawk.
played Hawk in Spencer for Hire. Yeah.
And that's the look he had in there, and I think that's what they were trying to avoid for the first 3 seasons. Do you think
But
they knew that they wanted?
Xavier Brooks, he's like, I look better bald. And they're like, yes, you do. Like, book it.
This is such a cornucopia of cool nerd shit in this episode, and all of these choices are made. Again, I feel, and this has been my sentiment for all of Deep Space Nine, but especially this, like, everything is intentional. The guys writing this stuff, Ira Stephen Bear, Robert Hewitt Wolf, Ron Moore, wherever he's at in this, they're the guys that know the names of the starship classes. They're the ones who understand what things visually represent on screen. The fact that everybody is running around the station armed, and they're not using Type 2 phasers. They're using Type 3 phaser rifles, which was incredibly rare to see in Next Generation. Right? They used them heavily last episode, Adversary. But in TNG, the only time I can really remember phaser rifles being used was Lower Decks, I think, where they were shooting the shuttlecraft and creating damage that another starship would have been capable of inflicting on a shuttle, right? This is high output. These are war implements. They go crazy with them in Voyager. But for early Berman era, you didn't really see the phaser rifle a lot. These things look awful on screen, and it's clear why First Contact introduces new phaser rifles.
Yes.
But just what this represents on screen in this quantity says everything you need to know about it. That
Well, and yeah,
Cisco specifically is not playing any. He is in full war mode. There is no pretense of Starfleet is a science organization anymore.
and obviously this is the first of several indications of that. The episode builds quite nicely on this idea. We also get little subtle changes to things that have happened that are not called out explicitly in dialogue, but are noted in the visuals and eventually in the way people are addressed. Dax is now lieutenant commander. Julian Bashir has been promoted to full lieutenant. I presume these things are done on the basis of like naturally over time, officers that distinguish themselves would be promoted. In the case of Dax, I think they, as we indicated before, they felt compelled to make sure that she was an equal to Worf because, well, their very first scene together tells you exactly what their intentions are with those two, which we'll get to. And everyone is on the ball, so to speak. Everyone is participating in the war game, including the Doctor.
And that war game, by the way, I fully expected this to be a holodeck simulation, and it's not. This is Cisco closing off the promenade to do drills while they've got Odo playing the role of the bad guy and showing everybody firsthand. And what an important exercise to do. You guys aren't going to believe what happened on Defiant when we were going off on this mission that was completely a psyop against us to lure the Federation into war with the Zindi or whatever the fuck they were called.
The Githyanki.
The Githyanki. You're not going to believe how hard it is to really catch these guys. You've only seen Odo as he's rampaging as a rock monster. Let me show you what happens when we're really playing hide and go seek with one of these guys.
And I'm still not as good as they are. You know, this is me at 100% power is them at 60% power.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't think all I know is that I'm a lot better at choke slamming them into unshielded warp cores than they are, or at least, you know, they show more restraint when fighting me. Like
I have killed the most amount of changelings that have
in
been
the
killed.
entire history of my species.
I've killed the most.
I rename I was Odo. You shall now call me Kane.
But the drills wrap up with a relative lack of success, but a promise to continue. And when they break up, you know, we've got Quark kind of bitching that he wants to open his bar, you know, like life must return to normal. So there's like things are still happening. This is still the station. And Kira is like, hey, you want to get dinner, Ben? And he's like, actually, no, I've got something else. And she's like, oh yeah, Captain Yates is here. Your girlfriend, we forgot. Good luck.
Interesting, persistent side plot to be bringing into this. I've seen worse chemistry on air.
These two have a great stage kiss in the later part of this. They fucking nail it.
I think I'm having a hard time latching onto her because of her character in the Orville, and that's what I see when she's on.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird spot for you to be in because this is how most of us know her, right?
Yeah.
I like found it weird for her to be the Doctor because I knew her as Cassidy Yates.
But again, it's cool that it's being included and it's not stuff that we're forgetting about. Quark and his decision to remain open. And I'm sure we'll get into that stuff. But like at this point, the value proposition of running a bar on a battle station is ridiculous. They sound red alert and everybody just clears out of there. Like how many open tabs are just walked away from? So I'll be very curious watching season 4, the Quark stuff. Clearly he sees there's a lot of opportunity for people to pass through. Like it is going to be a busy place. Capacity for Deep Space Nine, we said was what, 6,000 people?
Yeah, thousands.
So you're going to have the foot traffic there. There's opportunity because it's looking into the Delta Quadrant. And for him politically, the amount of face time he's gotten with the Nagus and wielding the Nagus' scepter and being essentially an ambassador of Ferenginar for all intents and purposes. Like, it's there. I need some throwaway dialogue for him, but like, if I wasn't making so much money, I would have packed up and left.
It is interesting you talk about the increased traffic because the opening, the revised season 4 opening is thick with that implication. Like now there's a lot more ships. We got a Nebula class just chilling out.
I need to go back and watch
outside.
It.
Yeah, like much busier. Like the station is being now a hub of activity of not just people like doing things to it and repairing it and preparing it, but also like ships are around. Starfleet ships, big Starfleet ships.
First, they built the Deep Sheets 9, and then they built the Highway.
Breezewood has finally arrived.
I normally I watch the intro for each episode 1, and because of Fallout Shelter and it being 1:00 when I started watching this thing, I didn't. So.
Yeah. Catch it on the next one. It's quite interesting how they changed the intro. The intro also has like the new ranks for all the characters in it and all of that. So interesting. And I guess I tend to fixate that on details like that because it takes some care to do that. But it is like the first time we've seen like the main character got promoted. You've got 2 secondary characters have been promoted. Kira eventually gets a promotion down the line. Like,
will she become colonel?
She's major still. She'll become colonel. And it is interesting. Like the show manages the progression of the characters' careers as like a backbeat in a way that makes a lot of sense. Kind of makes the universe feel like things are happening even when you're not watching, which is good. It feels like it has inertia, like it's real.
Sure. Ben's civilian clothing, classic Braga era bad civilian clothing.
Oh yes. Oh, this is such bad This is bad 24th century civilian clothes.
I don't blame Worf for wearing his uniform while off duty because the other options on the station for fashion. Garrick, what are you doing? How could you let this man walk around?
I expect this is how he shows his disdain is that he's like, oh, it looks lovely. His sassy queen nature comes out in his fabric choices for people.
So Sisko's having
Cassidy looks good though. He likes Cassidy. Cassidy looks like $1 million.
She sure do. He can't do anything about it though because as they're connecting, and again, the civilian eye through all this. Quark, now Cassidy Yates as a space trucker. Here's what I'm hearing. Here's the rumor. Here's the concern the civilian population has. Hey, let's not focus on work right now. Let's focus on each other. Look at all this great food I made. Dax busts in with a classic Star Trek trope. Hey, boss, you better get up here. Listen, friend, I'm trying to get my dick wet tonight. So before
my girlfriend's giving me the sex eye right now. So Dax, this better be good.
You tell me what you think you need me to look at before I throw ice water all over this.
Or Dax knew, like, you're with Cassidy. I can't tell you why, but you have to believe me when I say you have to come because I don't want to reveal state secrets to a civilian, you know? Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I like their chemistry a lot. You know, Sisko's coming at this very different perspective than his prior relationship. You know, like he lost Jennifer, but Jennifer is a lot like her in the respect that, you know, he needs a woman that pushes back a little bit on him. Mm-hmm. You know, he doesn't want someone he has to protect this time, which comes into play obviously later on in this episode where that instinct in him is still very strong.
Sure.
And at the same time, you know, Cassidy is no wilting flower, right? Like she's asking questions like, hey, I see you've been strapping a bunch of guns to this place. Like she's kind of picked up on some shit. And she's competitive with him in a sense of like, you know, I'm not going to just be, you know, your submissive, you know, side piece, space trucker. I'm a real person and I kind of want to know what's going on in my world.
My big question through all of this is Cassidy a changeling? Because what a way for them to, you know, just the insidious nature of the Dominion, the threat of the Founders, they could be anywhere, you know, the betrayal of trust. Like she is going at the top of my list of people that I think are probably
they go in an interesting direction. I'll say that. I don't want to spoil, but yeah, keep your eye on her. Keep your eye on her, Peter. It's good.
Up in ops. Also, too, she's too perfect, right? Baseball.
Yeah. Loves baseball. You know, she looks great. She's kind of like your type.
Tailored for this guy.
Yeah.
Up in ops, we have cool shit going on.
Yes.
And it is the Negvar, which is the flagship of the Klingon fleet. I'm very familiar with this card. I think this is a Feckler class, which I remember from the Star Trek collectible card game. This was like the best Klingon ship out there. And This is the vessel of Admiral Martok, who
General Martok, but yes.
general. He was Hirogen, right, from Voyager.
So this is Martok is played by veteran Trek actor J.G. Hertzler. He did previously play in episodes we've watched the captain of the ship that Cisco was the first officer of during Emissary, um, the Saratoga. He played. Let's see. Yeah, he played the
Saratoga,
Hirogen fighter in the WWE episode
the Rock
of
episode, yeah.
Voyager, and he also played Saul Gockman in Enterprise. So he is this is his biggest role by a million miles. He is in, obviously, as you would expect, quite a bit of TNG or Deep Space Nine. Martok is one of the most important recurring characters on the show from this point forward.
Powerhouse character, I can already feel it, and it's because I've been primed by the episode of Enterprise where he plays Saul Gockman. I forget what his lawyer's name was, but that was such a powerful story, and that was really a turning point for me with Klingons and seeing that, like, I do enjoy the Klingon falling empire storyline, but he did that Enterprise episode clearly after all this Deep Space Nine stuff was done. So he really, I think, understood what the Klingons were about. And I like everything I've seen out of this guy so far. And I felt good watching it happen because I know this Martok guy is going to be a big deal and that this was going to be a reoccurring character. And like these little roller coasters he goes on through this episode is all going to be part of a larger story. So there's going to be payoff. It's not a disposable one and done. He's like, hey, what's up, man? My dudes need some shore leave. And Cisco's like, yeah, we're allies. I got a gas station here. They want some roast beef sandwiches at Space Bucky's, man. Come on in.
Yeah.
Cool. There's only a couple of us. Psych. There's a whole fucking fleet here. And it's just a massive decloak.
And it's like, first, Dax was right. I did definitely need to be here to talk to, apparently, the head of the Klingon military on their flagship, the version of the Enterprise for Klingons, who is here for some reason. And then, surprise, there's like hundreds of us. Fuck.
So I think they say because of cloaking and decloaking, which seems like a very intentional act on their end to obfuscate their numbers.
Yes.
There's at least 20 ships, right?
And then that escalates to a significantly larger amount when they start talking about the actual amount of ships invading Cardassia.
That's the most ships that we have seen. That's more ships than we saw on the Founder Rogue Planetoid attack that the Cardassians and Romulans carried out. And to this point, we haven't really seen a ton of Klingon ships in Berman era. I think this is the first time we see this Feckler class. No, yes. All good things. That's what the Enterprise, Riker's Enterprise.
The Negvar is a class into of itself. I don't know what it is in the TCG, but they call it the Negvar class. This is like the name. The namesake
of the class was what that other one was. So this is different. We see the Birds of Prey. I think I see some D class in there. They're like more TOS coded. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Vorcha?
Correct. And you get good size comparisons too. Like the Birds of Prey are clearly smaller scout sized vessels. They're like the Defiant in overall size and scope. And then these larger cruisers are just massive.
The Vorcha being the collaboration with the Federation, which we talk about because that's what Gowron's ship was in the Worf Homework episodes. And that used to be their best vessel. All the toys are coming out of the toy box and being played with by hands that know the right way to hold them.
Yeah.
The fact that they're using phaser rifles and not just Type 2s, even though the phaser rifles look worse on screen and are probably more cumbersome and they had to build a bunch more, but they knew it was important to project to people that this is wartime. There's rifles, not pistols. That you've got the Klingon Empire, which is a big fucking deal, and it's not just a bunch of the same lazy-ass bird of prey out there. You've got the Vorcha. You got this new thing. Guys writing this show that know this is cool shit that people are talking about at lunch tables and around the nerd water coolers and the D&D tables and are like, fuck, man, let's get this stuff out there. Let's play with these toys. Let's put them on screen. Let's do cool shit with them. Like, it is so gratifying and fulfilling to watch this stuff.
Because you're nailing all the points, right? Like, this is being done by people who understand the size difference between a bird of prey and a Vorcha class cruiser. And if you are that kind of person that cares about making sure you establish in a shot the visual difference between these two ships to give variety to the Klingon fleet composition, then you're exactly the right person to be writing Deep Space Nine, right? Like, it just kind of goes together. And then imagine, Peter, if you will, when they start to have the Federation stuff like come onto the screen more prominently, and they show the same level of care.
This was never the focus of TNG.
No.
The fact that the Borg cube was a big ship, that was a big deal, right? But TNG was always about the story and some cool stuff going on behind it. And every now and then you get a little bit of ship porn or whatever. Ship porn or whatever. Yeah. But the writers there were focused on the story. And you're still getting the story here. And you're arguably getting a better story here. But people have realized that the visual storytelling could be so much more, and that people have been paying attention to this stuff the whole time. People have been buying your books, your technical manuals, and this other stuff. And like, now is the time to start making models.
You know, everything.
Yeah. Show me the shit on screen and show me cool stuff happening with it. The Federation doesn't always have to be Excelsiors and Mirandas and Oberths left over from the TOS movies. You know, we can make new stuff. We can do cool stuff. Are these still models, or do we start getting into CG at this point?
We are exiting the era of models and entering the era of CG. The episode properly begins actually at Quark's bar, where we get a disconcerting visual, which is the Klingons are here and they are quiet.
This is the quiet, and I love. Again, it's all there. Yeah, I'm just like, man, this is really fucking quiet. Like, this is a creepy scene. I know the Klingons, because every time you've seen Klingons on Deep Space Nine, they are the attention whores in the room, yelling, throwing shit, singing, spilling blood wine all over the place. This thing looks like a shitty icebreaker at some corporate event.
Redemption Part 2, when they're at like the Klingon bar in Kronos, just all like fucking drinking before they go back to fighting each other. That's what we're used to. And this is like, what the fuck?
Playing up Quark's audio acuity, like, he's got these big ears and that he can tell you exactly how many decibels things are. Like, such a great detail to throw at the Ferengi. And he's very unnerved. Meanwhile, you got Julian and fucking O'Brien sitting there playing grab ass, flipping jelly beans into their mouths, not giving a shit at all, just joyfully ignorant of Quark's concerns.
You're like, what are you talking about? We've been allies with the Klingons for 80 years. What are we worried about? And you cut then to Martok really actually showing up for the first time.
I do want to say that there's something about Colm Meaney as O'Brien. He looks a lot more real. Did you pick up on that?
Well, everybody's kind of look got refreshed in this. It isn't just him. Everyone looks a little bit more detailed.
Bashir looks less like a Ken doll, and he looks more like a man.
O'Brien looks a little bit more like he's the local mechanic.
I don't know if maybe he hit the gym.
Everyone did. I know that Avery Brooks did. He looks much more trim, much more like.
He even says, like, I think my waist went down a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, they look,
even the ladies, like Dax, Kira's look has changed again. Her hair is a little bit more less like strict and a little bit more natural. And Dax herself, you know, they glow her up, I think, because they're clearly entering into, we finally figured out what the fuck to do with you. So you're going to be a romantic pairing with Worf.
Odo has like these wavy lines on his forehead now, where like he's furrowing his brow, and
it looks like he's getting a little better at shapeshifting as he's like had more experience at it.
Very distracting, because all I could see was like the air or the wind symbol from the Fifth Element, the rocks. Like, that's all I see on his forehead, and now he reminds me of the hologram from Red Dwarf, like where he just has a logo on his forehead, and it's like, so you've decided that you want your look to be that you constantly have your brow furrowed. But they're sitting there talking, and then Martok shows up for real.
He rolls in with his Tog and says, "We aren't having a conversation until everyone bleeds from their palms onto this table."
Unsanitary as fuck.
We have immediately arrived at what I was talking about, the consequences of the adversary. Everyone now knows that changeling infiltrators can be everywhere, so we will not be having any talking about sensitive matters until such time as I can be convinced that you are a human, or you're not a changeling. And
Joe, you and I have a background in LARP.
yes,
paranoia is a real thing in all sorts of tabletop and role-playing games. How do I know it's you?
You called this immediately.
This is once you deal with doppelgangers or people have the ability to fool you into thinking they're somewhere else, the paranoia never leaves. Every meeting starts with hold this bone of lies.
Yes.
Do something that's going to
put yourself
here's
to
a stone of true form.
Yeah. We're going to make sure you are who you say you are.
Cut yourself and bleed on the fucking table. And we're going to have a whole talk while you look at your finger half hanging off because you cut too deep. Like, this shit's going to get real old real quick, but it's necessary. And
you can't fault Martok and the fact that Cisco's like, yeah, okay. And it's like, Karen, don't look at me like that. Like, we all know what the fuck's going on. You can do this too. And and it's like such a good key like thing where, the Tog is supposed to be the honor of the Klingon in question. It represents
the Tog being
the knife,
pop blade dagger.
Yeah. And like the fact that Martok produces his and then hands it to Cisco, like it's just, I'm giving you the tool of my honor for you to demonstrate that you are who you say you are. So don't be fucking with me today. Oh, cool. Like, what a cool little detail.
And Martok too, coming off instantly as a very textured character. This dude, Hertzler, came in understanding the assignment. This is a guy who has honor, which, the Klingon Empire is a flawed system. We know that the Klingon High Council is a fucking joke that had supported the Duras lie and the dishonor there. This Martok guy stands out as kind of like a Picard figure of like, yeah, the organization around me is pretty rotten, but somehow I have gotten to where I am mostly clean hands. And I know ultimately what's being asked to do right now is not something I feel great about. And I think that comes through in his performance really well, that he is not thrilled about the idea of invading Cardassia and directly putting themselves at odds with the Federation. At the same time, this guy is a warrior who is bound by honor. And on paper, all of this makes sense and should be stuff he's about. So there's a nice subtle conflict, internal conflict this guy is feeling. And especially later on, like where he has to kill the captain that did not fire on Cisco. Like, this guy's fighting two wars. He's fighting a war with himself and his hands in this Klingon thing, and he's fighting a war with external enemies or, external foes that the Klingon Empire is creating for itself.
Martok's initial excuse he gives to Cisco is, we're your allies. The Dominion could come through that ovipositor at any time, and we're here to blow them up if they do. This is the not fucking around crew, and this is us not fucking around. And Cisco's like, we don't really have any sense that they're coming. Well, why are you here?
Me, Captain, maybe not the Dominion, but how about other fools wearing red velvet hooker boots, or space hillbillies of certain extent, or Rumpelstiltskins, or any of the other things that populated the first 2 seasons of your TV show? Wouldn't it be nice to have people with guns here ready to help you?
Hey, listen, the next time this turns into a Doom level, that's our fetish. We are into that.
Look at all these ships with all these tractor beams. Just think if the wormhole tries to suck your space station in again.
We got you. You're covered. And, so it is an interesting diplomatic position because Cisco is like, okay, our treaty does in fact basically allow you to do this, right? Like,
necessitated almost.
You're here, you're following our rules, right? and therefore, yeah, if that's what you want to do, great. But I guess we don't need you to. But that's your choice.
I needed a scene in here where he's like, "This should be the Federation." At some point along season 3, this should have been the Federation response, was to reinforce it. Like I do need this to some extent. And it's a fact that it's all Klingon is the hardship here. Not that there is a huge presence all of a sudden. We are not the armpit of the galaxy. We are now a major thoroughfare and the tip of Troubletown. But it, just great. That's not spackle. It's just great positioning of like, what
Yeah.
is the conflict going to be here? How are we going to put these alpha quadrant known players into conflict with each other reasonably and plausibly?
We get a quick break from the tension by cutting to the holosuites where apparently Jadzia has taken Kira to her favorite fuck den. You wanted more Kira and Jadzia. You're
I
going to
got
get
it.
some.
Thank you.
Uh,
Nice pickup on Kira's photonic bigotry.
Yeah. Like Kira's hyper realist, like I don't have an imagination because I was too busy being a child soldier murdering as many Cardassians as I could get my hands on. And Jadzia being kind of an indulgent, uh, kind of reprobate.
Sure.
Like she's inherited the Dax symbiote and Curzon. Like as I
Hey,
was telling Stevie before recorded, like the thing they figured out with Jadzia is that Curzon liked to fuck and he really liked Klingons, and so Jadzia really wants to fuck Klingons. Like that's how those two impulses came together.
the choice to go to a massage parlor instead of like whitewater rafting or whatever, or like a combat simulator, like it's budget conscientious. It's easier to do like, steamy thing with guys with their shirts off than trying to show them parasailing or whatever.
Oh sure, and you get to
um
put your female leads in less clothing, and that never hurts your ratings.
no. We're here at an hour already. Let me do a quick sidestep into the economy of the future. So we've talked heavily about like what is the ethics of making holographic recreations of people around you, and like that's wrong, or sometimes
Yes,
sometimes it's wrong,
it
sometimes
feels
it's
like a
acceptable.
violation, and I think this first came up to us because Harry Kim had a
It's Norwegian,
hologram of like a volleyball team that he was banging out or something like that.
right? And they talk about it explicitly, point blank, where Quark's trying to steal Kieran Reese's likeness to give to insert Jeffrey Combs character here.
Yes.
This one, because like Kira's, no, I'm sorry, Dax is singing the praise of this bathhouse on Trill and how great it is. And okay, well, I'd love to visit it if we ever go there. I want to do the real thing, not this. And it made me start thinking, like, damn, like, why do the original thing when you could just have it at home? Like the AI stealing the business away from real places by just holodeck. I don't. We don't need to go to this fancy restaurant. I'll just make it in the holodeck, and we'll eat the food there. And
I guess that begs the question of is the holodeck truly as real, perfectly realistic as we imagine it to be, or is there just enough of that this is fake sheen to it that you're like, yeah, it like gives me the facsimile of it being real in much the same way like that it's like a really well produced theme park, to an
yeah,
insane level of detail, but I still know it's a theme park for some reason. Like my brain is still thinking
Uncanny
about
Valley
cracking.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's just not quite real. And like because Kara is not been exposed to this kind of technology previous, and B is of someone of preeminent practical thought processes
And
that
kind of
seem more
curmudgeonly.
fake to her than most. Like I could buy all of that.
Yeah. Money's not a factor, right? So you can't be like, well, it's cheaper to do a holodeck stint at
It's easier. You don't have to go to Trill.
yeah, but I'm just saying from like an Earth standpoint, like why would I go to Texas Roadhouse, some Hyde Park fancy high-end steakhouse when I could just do it in a holodeck? Like I don't have to park cars necessarily because there's a global transport network, and money's not an issue. Maybe Feral Historian might have things to say
About that. You might have
different.
a 2-hour video about it. Who knows?
But yeah, like just not only like the holodecks, especially against the backdrop of all the fucking problems AI is making for us creatively right now, and deep
Yeah.
fakes and just taking people's jobs. Fucking 1,600 people laid off from Amazon. So I know some LARPers that just got cut as a part of that.
Yeah, so
Just
do
seeing
I.
like, okay, not only do you have to worry about people using holographic recreation, deep fakes of you to like fuck you, but also potentially ruin your business because who's gonna go to your place if they can just? Why would I go to Universal Studios if I could just replicate it in the holodeck?
Sure. And after that, I guess we'll have to wrap it here. I thought we were going to try to get through at least Act 2. I think we're going to get to Act 1 in this first part. Um, the
I deserve this, Joe.
You do.
You
You've
made
earned
me
it.
watch
You've earned it.
a lot of bad Voyager and a lot of bad Enterprise and a lot of bad Picard season 1. Deep Space Nine's been good to us, and we are at the promised land. And I have
Oh yeah, we
no
must
intention.
luxuriate in the promised land. I'm not taking it a second away from you. But the first act wraps with, I guess, the first real beat of tension, which is we start with a reference back to season 3. Garrick and Odo are in fact having breakfast together. Now, Odo, the conversation is more about Odo demonstrating how he is trying to fit in by like having a cup of quote unquote coffee that's really just an extension of his own body, but he gets to act like he is participating in the ritual in a way to put solids at ease. And Garrick is like engaging with this of like, go on, tell me more about how you are trying to fit in.
What's really happening is it's the writers continuing to communicate to the audience the level of threat that the changelings represent. This
Yes.
is to me, this was a refresh from Adversary, where changeling doppelganger Bashir was able to hypo spray blood out of himself, and it was really just his own juices recirculating in a dummy hypo spray. Same thing here. It's fluid from my hand, self-filling the cup as I drink the fluid into myself. You cannot trust these hypo spray things that other people are doing. We are deeply insidious. We are capable of virtually anything. And you saw my demonstration in the beginning, the cold open with people chasing me around the station. Here's the more subtle hints of the full scope of this dilemma's depths.
Yeah. And, you know, Garrick is gathering intelligence, but at the same time, he's kind of honoring his commitment of, I'm going to be Odo's friend. I did torture him, and then he did not get me killed for that. So,
And I saw his integrity firsthand.
yeah, I know this man's on the up and up. I watched
Garrick,
him deny his people when it would have been very easy for him to say yes.
when I couldn't do it myself, Garrick is a deeply judgmental person, and he can smile at people he dislikes. So he's able to cooperate with everybody. But the Garrick Odo pairing is my new favorite dynamic that's been introduced to the show. And I am very excited to see where their relationship goes, because these guys have been through the worst possible situation already in the Dias cast, and like they should be at like 100% bro level effectively. So
And we get that because Garrick doesn't like chit chat with people like this. You know, he seems to like it's just him and Bashir, really.
yeah,
Odo and Bashir are the only people he has this kind of relationship with. So that kind of communicates that quite well. And the we get our first look at a Klingons kind of fucking around. The character we see here is Drex, who's apparently Martok's son,
a little
and,
buster ass son.
and he's harassing Morn. Odo intervenes with Garrick standing nearby of, excuse me, you'll be moving along or I will put you in jail. I'm not fucking around with you. And would you like
Great
to find
look
out?
for Odo.
Yeah. Like,
Odo is a competent law enforcer in this, and a figure of authority.
his scene later on with Worf is absolute peak. Where
You
he,
know,
he just fucking busts his fucking chops in a way. I don't think Worf's ever had his chops busted before. And it really works.
Worf's been busted up quite a bit. I can't wait to get into Worf next episode, but Odo has come into his own in season 4. There's a confidence and there's a lack of recklessness, and because that was like our complaint about Odo in season 1 was like, he's not really lawful good. this guy has a sense of personal justice, but he is willing to do dirty things, and he's very morally flexible, and it's hard to lock down what he's actually about. And the version of him that we get in this, there's no nonsense, there is business, and it is business. His business is the greater good, cut and dry.
Yeah.
And this is not a guy, I feel like he's allowing personal judgment to override the greater good. And I think that's a big difference between him during the search and like the conflict that he had with Cisco and the Federation. Like, I want to do things my way, but you're not letting me, so I quit. I'm leaving. And him being like, I'm now with the program. I'm
I've
a company
matured.
man now.
Yeah.
I've matured. And you better not fuck around in front of me, because I might not use guns, but like I am absolutely talking with my daddy pants from now on.
Yeah. Like, I know I can't show weakness to you, so I won't. That's like, that's all there is to it.
I like the name drop there about that things have been swell between the Klingons and the Cardassians, minus an 18-year border skirmish.
Klingons and their little border skirmishes.
Well, it's interesting too, because I mean the Cardassians are very warlike, and the Klingons are always looking for fight. They can't fight the Federation. Like, why wouldn't they have gone and just completely shithoused the Cardassians? And obviously it's because it's too deep of a concept for writers for the throwaway Chain of Command episode, or not Chain of Command. What was the Benjamin Maxwell episode?
The Wounded.
But like, why wouldn't the clans go, oh, you're fucking with the Federation, these skirmishes? Please let us put all resources into fucking you guys up. Maybe the Federation doesn't want to come in here with a bunch of Excelsiors and Mirandas, but we will jam pack you with Birds of Prey and Vorcha.
And this part of the episode wraps with maybe a very predictable outcome, which is when Garrett goes back to his tailor shop. All the Klingons that just got reprimanded by Odo and don't enjoy having their assholes stung in that way are there to whoop his ass. And Garrett shows no fear, really. He's not a physical threat to them. He knows that. And we cut basically to black after he's like thrown to the ground and is getting wailed upon.
I want to say it's around this point too, and maybe it was the scene with Odo and Garrick and the Klingons initially, but like I paused and I was like, the writing on this episode is exceptional. They're hitting so many beats, the pacing is so good, the self-reference is so on point but not like problematic, and the story and the way that they're using these factions and characters to interact with each other and start bending, I don't want to say rules, but establishments.
Yeah.
This is an episode of change, and it is happening at grassroots levels right now, and it just continues to grow through it. Like this is such a well-written, great fucking episode, and
it's well-paced. It's paced like a movie. Like that's probably the best compliment I can give it. Is this feels like a full cinematic story within the Deep Space Nine universe.
Yeah, but it's got the movie pacing.
Yeah,
while it's still playing with things at a granular nerd level.
Yeah,
they're not skimming. They're not whitewashing anything. They're not backing the camera out so you can't see texture anymore. Like they are playing nitty gritty. It's just a perfect fucking fusion of like what if people could put maximum effort into things at the most nerdiest of levels.
Hour and 15-minute discussion. We have touched on maybe the first 15 minutes of this episode. So I think we can all you can all rest assured that there might be several weeks of us talking about this at this rate.
I hope you like talking about Way of the Warrior audience.
Yes, because you've been doing it a lot, and we will not be apologizing for that. So we will join you again next week with more discussion about Way of the Warrior. If you have just recently come along onto the train, we are on Facebook. We are on Discord. You can reach out to me at vjplease@gmail.com if you would like invites to those places, just so that we can, have people put in some effort to put a comment and ask for an invite link. We just ask for a little bit of that so that we know you're a real person. And we would love for you also to subscribe to us on Patreon. www.patreon.com/VegerPlease, where we post additional episodes where we review movies. We'll sometimes talk about kind of off-topic subjects, put those ramblings up there. And it certainly helps us mitigate all the costs as it relates to bringing a show to you. So if you could do that, if you're interested in that, we'd appreciate it. And as always, like, share, and subscribe wherever it is that you watch it. Those interactions matter a lot for other people to find the show too. So, so many of our listeners came along because people interacted with our interview with a feral historian. Do appreciate you taking the time to do that, and we will see you again next week.